I've been wanting to talk with you about this for a long time, so I'm really glad that you're here. Yep, I have some questions for you, and I hope it's okay if I ask them, and if you answer honestly. I know you've been having a lot of anxiety and sleep issues, and this is a biological thing that can actually sometimes cause or worsen those things. So, no judgment here. Everyone, well, I'm not going to say everyone or everyone about anything, but I will say everyone about this, if that makes sense. Everyone at some point has a health problem, a mental health problem, some other kind of problem that they're going through. I have my records here for you. We're here in the wilderness medicine tent, and it's evening, it's night, you can hear the sound of the waves in the distance, so very private. But I did want to ask you a couple of questions, and please understand, these are just helpful, okay? Just so that we can try to help you start feeling a little bit better, okay? And yes, they all have to do with alcohol. As I said, I've been wanting to talk with you about this for a while, because I think that this is a very overlooked source of anxiety and sleep issues. So I believe in you. I know you're brave. I know you can answer honestly. Okay? Seriously, I'm 100% serious. I believe in you. So, how often did you have a drink containing alcohol in the past year? And the options are never, monthly or less, and I have it up here for you so I can type it in your answer, 2 to 4 times a month, 2 to 3 times a week, or 4 or more times a week. And give yourselves points accordingly. So never, you get 0 points. Monthly or less, you get 1 point. Okay? 2 to 4 times a month is 2. 2 to 3 times a month is 3. And 4 more times a week is 4. 2 to 3 times a week is 3. Sorry. Do you want me to go over that again? Okay. Never is 0. Monthly or less is 1. 2 to 4 times a month is 2. 2 to 3 times a week is 3. 4 or more times a week is 4. How often did you have a drink containing alcohol in the past year? Next question. How many drinks did you have on a typical day when you were drinking in the past year? Okay. So the options for this one are none. I do not drink. You get 0 points for that. 1 or 2 drinks a day. You get 0 points for that. 3 to 4 drinks a day. You get 1 point. 5 to 6 drinks a day. You get 2 points. 7 to 9 drinks a day. You get 3 points. And 10 or more, you get 4 points. Do you know what a drink is? I want to show you a chart. I think that what you should do is go to rethinkingdrinking.niaaa.nih.gov, and it'll have a chart there for you, but I can show it to you. So a standard drink, as you can see on my chart, is about 12 fluid ounces of regular beer. So that's 1 can. That's about 5% alcohol. So that's going to be different if you have a stout or an IPA or different things like that have different alcohol amounts. You're looking for 5% alcohol. It's about 12 fluid ounces. About 8 to 9 fluid ounces of malt liquor, which is about 7% alcohol. So not even a full 12-ounce glass. About 2/3 of, well, technically 3/4 full of the glass. 5 fluid ounces of table wine, right? That's about 12% alcohol. 3 to 4 fluid ounces of fortified wine like sherry or port, which is about 17% alcohol. 2 to 3 fluid ounces, so even smaller, of cordial liqueur or aperitif. So that's something that's about 24% alcohol. Or 1.5 fluid ounces of brandy or cognac. Gotta know a lot about alcohol to know this chart. This chart I think I almost said something else, didn't I? A single jigger or a shot, about 40% alcohol, and a small 1.5 fluid ounce shot of 80 proof distilled spirits like gin, rum, tequila, vodka, and so forth. Each of those is one standard drink. So to just kind of remember it, you can remember a can of normal beer, one small glass of wine, like the classy little tiny glasses, and one little shot glass. That's about one drink. So that's kind of the question when I'm asking how many drinks do you have on a typical day. I'm asking how many of those. So a 6-pack of beer counts as 5 or 6, and that would get you 2 points. Does that make sense? So again, it's none, I don't drink, is 0 points. 1 to 2, I don't drink, also 0 points. 3 to 4 drinks, that's 1 point. 5 to 6, that's 2 points. 7 to, that's right, 9, that's 3 points. And 10 or more is 4 points. Okay? So the next question is, how often did you have 6 or more drinks on one occasion in the past year? So for a party or something else. Yeah, this doesn't make a distinction between whether you're drinking by yourself or socially. That's not the question. Yeah. So you never had 6 or more drinks on one occasion, again finishing a 6-pack. So that would be 0 points. If it was less than monthly, you would get 1 point. If you monthly had 6 or more drinks, that would be 2 points. If it happened every week, that would be 3 points. 3. If it happened daily or almost daily, that would be 4 points. That's called the audit-c. The audit-c is scored from 0 to 12. Yep. Give me your numbers. In men, a score of 4 or more is considered positive. In women, a score of 3 or more is considered positive. Why is that? Well, it's not because I'm sexist. It's because women biologically store a lot more fat, and fat changes your absorption of alcohol. Because estrogen and testosterone change your fat storage on your body. Because biologically, if you do happen to get pregnant and have a child, you need to be able to nurse the child. You know, if you're out nowhere, so you need to have some fat stores. Women also need to theoretically survive with less nutritional requirements, and so they need more fat to protect themselves. Yep. Doesn't mean you have to get pregnant or have kids. That's not what that means. Just saying that is the way that your body is protected for your reproductive situation. Yep. So that's why. Yep. Gender roles don't have to follow biology. No, that's not what I'm saying. You can be a woman and go hunting and kill things. You don't have to have a high amount. And really the way that this is a different conversation entirely. It's a different conversation entirely. But that's just that there's just more fat, and that changes your alcohol distribution. Yeah. It's totally fine if you want to be the hunter provider, or if you want to be the one taking care of kids. There's no reason a toned testosterone-laden body, like a male body, there's no reason that can't be staying at home taking care of kids. Just can't nurse them. So that's the biological realities are different than the jobs that you choose or choose to not have. Women can also fight. It is actually a myth that throughout history men have had to be warriors because of a biological rule. Actually, a lot of warriorhood has developed around men's bodies. That doesn't mean that's how it has to be. Because historically we've kind of bred people. This is very off topic. We tend to breed people historically to follow. So men who wanted small, tiny women who couldn't fight married more and more small, tiny women who couldn't fight, and then over history you get smaller women. Other mammals actually don't have that. There are a couple mammals like the okapi and the blue whale where the female is actually much bigger. Because testosterone isn't the only thing that makes size. Growth hormone also dictates your size. So testosterone helps with muscle toning, and that can be a muscle toning advantage. But estrogen has other survival benefits that, for example, like longevity, starvation, and things like that, which would also be helpful for warrior situations, right? It's helpful if you can outlast your opponent, so because you don't have to eat as much because you've stored more fat better. So it just takes, for warfare or for jobs or whatever, it takes modifying things to do it in a way that works with your body. And it's the same kind of thing as we talked on the superhero channel about martial artists who don't have limbs and still wipe the floor with other people because they've turned it into an advantage, because they've altered their fighting style to where other people can't grab them. Same kind of thing. And I'm certainly not comparing the absence of limbs to being a woman or being a man or whatever. I'm just saying that in all things, whatever you do, you want to adapt to figure out how you can do it best, not how someone else does it best, right? So that's why martial arts that have a lot of emphasis on striking and leg power tend to be advantageous for females, right? So depending on your body type is how you want to pick your martial art, or how you doesn't mean that you're not a warrior. And same within your job. Maybe you want to work construction. You don't have to kill your back doing it the same way someone else does. You could do it a different way. Maybe you want to be a nurturing father at home. There's nothing that dictates that you have to be like, the only thing that is real is biology. This other stuff is not real. Yeah. You can be a powerful, protecting man at home just as much as a woman can be a nurturing force out in the workplace if she wants to. Or she can be a powerful, protecting force out at the workplace, and you can be a nurturing force at home. Those are just human traits. Yeah. So, but your biology is real. And so it is important to understand your biology, and important to understand that this doesn't mean that you have a limitation if you are a woman and drink. It means that you need to be cognizant of, how fat works, and body fat, and size as well. Obviously, a larger woman is going to have a higher alcohol tolerance than a smaller woman, right? A more toned woman is going to have a higher alcohol tolerance than a woman like myself with a little bit more chub to go around, right? Same kind of thing. So now that we went on that tangent and lost half of everybody, the audit-c is scored from 0 to 12. So a score of 4 or more is positive in men, and a woman a score of 3 or more is positive. Generally, the higher the audit-c score, the more likely it is that your drinking is affecting your health or your safety, right? So you definitely want to be having a 4 or less than a 4. Let's not be having more than a 4. The ideal drinking ratio is either you don't drink at all, or you drink 1 a day. 2, sources will say 2 for men, but that doesn't really standardize size. That's based on a 70 kilogram man. And you could have larger women, you could have smaller men. So really one is a standard, because people are going to fudge it and then be ill. So I have some other questions too. I do. You can call the American Addiction Centers at 888-966-8152 if that's something that you are interested in. But really, so here's questions. If you are wondering if your alcohol usage is a problem, you can remember this acronym called the CAGE acronym. C-A-G-E. That's very strange. I don't know why we're tracing, but C is for cutting down. Do you ever feel like you need to cut down, or other people asking you and suggesting to you often that you need to cut down? A is the next one. Do you feel annoyed by criticism about drinking frequently? G is, do you have a guilty feeling? And I is eye openers. Do you drink one in the morning? Yeah. If those are positive, really, if any, obviously you're not going to use it to self-diagnose, right? You are not your own doctor. I only am with you here in this secret capacity, right? You and I have not had a true individualized consultation, right? But I can still send information to your primary care provider. No, not from this imaginary place where we are. But those questions, like a score of 2 or higher, you should talk to your doctor about it, because that's usually considered significant. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be. Again, you should talk to somebody, a professional. But something to think about if you scored a 2 or higher on that. So what was I saying about anxiety and sleep? So sometimes we will be tempted to use alcohol as sleep because it initially is a CNS depressant. It turns down the nervous system, right? It's what's called a global depressant, and it turns off everything. So for about 4 to 6 hours, you will fall asleep. About 4, then you will wake back up and you will be more alert because your body will bounce back, because it didn't fall asleep like it was supposed to using melatonin from your pineal gland. It was just kind of tranquilized, right? So you will actually be more awake or have worse sleep after that point in time. Yeah, when everything wears off, right? The bounce back is worse than the going down. So people who drink, that's why it's recommended to have your last alcohol drink at least 4 hours before bed. So if you have a dinner party, you have the alcohol at 6 and then you go to bed at 10. I know everyone doesn't keep to this very strictly, but if you have problems sleeping, this is one of the first things you should look at, is pushing your alcohol use back, just like coffee or anything else. I know coffee and tea work very differently and they do different things, but same kind of thing. Your last drink should be 6 hours before bed or more if you are a person who has trouble with sleep. So that's the sleep thing. As far as anxiety, actually one of the criteria when we're treating generalized anxiety disorder is often to make somebody get off of alcohol completely. Mm-hmm. Well, because it's the same kind of thing. For the moment, it's a depressant, but all the other neurotransmitters are still there, and so when the tranquilizer effect wears off, your body bounces back because it's like, hey, I have all this stuff I still need to deal with. A similar kind of effect is where if you take the same medication for a very long time for certain medications, and the medication hits the receptor in your body, that receptor's blocked, and your body's like, wait, something's wrong with my receptors. I need more, and it'll make more receptors. That's what we call tolerance. That's what happens with alcohol. That's what happens with certain chemical addictions, and it can happen with medications too. Sometimes it just means you need a drug holiday if it's a prescribed medication or something else, but basically a drug holiday would be the provider as you stop taking the medication for a little bit, so that your body realizes, hey, I didn't need all these receptors, and gets rid of some of them and goes back to its normal amount, right? And this is why opioid addiction sucks so much, right? Being addicted to painkillers, and this is why like fibromyalgia and other things like that shouldn't use opioids at all. I was just talking to someone who has fibromyalgia. A little tramadol is okay, but otherwise all other opioids really are off the table, because the opioid masks the pain receptor. In fibromyalgia, you already have your pain receptors upregulated, not necessarily the number, but they're more sensitive. We have to do more studies as far as what exactly is going on chemically. We do know that people with fibromyalgia have more substance P in their spines. We do know that there's more nerve activation for pain centers in the brain. But bottom line, something is already up, right? Upregulated. You put on the opioid, it hits the receptor, and your upregulated body says, hey, I don't feel anything. Something's wrong. Let me make more receptors. Right? Now you have more pain receptors called mu receptors, specifically for opioids. You have more of them, and then when the opioid wears off, you have more pain than before. And getting off the opioid is the worst thing, because now you have all these receptors that are crying out to be blocked for opioids. So avoid opioids for that reason. So it's a similar kind of thing with anxiety and alcohol, although it's on a short-term basis, not long-term, upregulating your receptors, because it takes a little while for your receptors to upregulate. Yeah, so same kind of thing. You put everything down, you didn't really address what was going on with these neurotransmitters, and your body's like, here are more neurotransmitters, here, more anxiety, neurotransmitters, hello. And then when this goes away, you have your yelling brain. So it actually makes it worse. Yep. So, aside for the tangent that I went on, which I'm sorry about, I really hope that, please do. You don't have to share your score publicly, obviously, but this might be, if this is not your wake-up call, consider to check in for how best to better handle and protect your brain and body. Yeah. Or you can consider it also, maybe you feel, maybe it should be your wake-up call, but it's not. There are these steps of change that we talk about in behavioral health, where you are basically, before you realize there's a problem, realizing there's a problem but you're not doing anything about it, realizing there's a problem and starting to do something about it. So we have contemplation and pre-contemplation. Pre-contemplation is that phase, contemplation phase, and then moving on into actions until eventually you take your first step, right, to actually do something. It's a good idea to write a pros and cons list. If the evidence says, right, if the CAGE score, because the ACAGE score is very black and white, and the audit-c is very black and white, right? If the numbers that I just gave you say that, and don't me with, oh, this could be not right because of this, or this could be not right because of this. Write down your numbers, look at them objectively, and if they say that there's a problem, then write down a pros and cons list. What are the pros of fixing this problem? And what are the cons? A major con might be having to actually deal with something that you're avoiding. That can be very painful. Actually dealing with the anxiety, for example, or with what's really causing you sleep problems. Right? A major pro might be finally actually getting good sleep. You know? Not having your liver eventually melt away. You know, the horrible thing that I've seen about liver damage is, everyone like talks about your liver. Why do you care about your liver? Your liver is the guardian for your brain. And when your liver goes, your brain goes. You get hepatic encephalopathy. You're hallucinating. You don't know what's going on. Prolonged alcohol use. I have even seen one case in which it led to Parkinsonism, and actually that's also described in the literature. It's very rare, but it can happen. Somebody can have, after very heavy drinking, of Parkinsonism. a syndrome that begins with K and is very Polish sounding, where you begin to develop progressive lying, like centers in your brains change so you cannot help but lie. Not because you're guilty, you're trying to hide a thing, but because you just, it feels good, you have to lie. A lot of things can change in the brain. You can develop severe vitamin B12 deficiency. Really bad stuff can happen. So those are pros of getting better. So just this was something I wanted to talk with you about that I haven't seen somebody else talking with you about, and I thought I might be a good person to do it, and I hope that I didn't talk about nonsense too much in the middle. So. Something to think about. If you're not asleep by now, then this was not helpful for sleep. Because this is a little bit of a strange doctor visit. Doctor visit. You might listen to the sci-fi playlist, which is much better for sleeping. I think probably starting with the third or fourth video on the playlist. There's one video that I'm probably going to need to edit because it's too loud. Most of them are good. It's this one rogue rapscallion one. I can go change that now. But yeah, the sci-fi playlist I think is good for sleeping. Or the depression playlist.